Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Manufacturers Championships round number 2, driving at Kyoto, the longest version of the track. The qualifying again was a bit of a disaster in this race, and it was really up in the air what strategy to go with. The Cayman was quite harsh on its front tyres, so I decided to start the race on the medium tyres. I didn't get a good lap in at all in qualifying. I tried something different again. I know I said I wasn't going to do it, but I felt like it was, because the track's so long, I felt like keeping the tyres in the perfect range and having really low fuel was the best way to do a lap. But I missed turn one up, I didn't get quite right, the long left-hander, and then the other really fast left-hander just after that, I had to lift off totally and lost about 6-7 miles per hour, and that totally messed the lap up. And then the other long left-hander, the fast one, midway through the lap, I didn't hook that one up either, so lost well over a second on the lap. I was quite annoyed because I knew I could get into the 24s, and I was back there in P10, so not a great qualifying. But this season's not really, like I say, it's not that important, and I haven't really been putting too much practice in on this game. Obviously playing a lot of Call of Duty at the moment with the Blackout beta that's on. So while I've paid for that, I've been doing a lot of that. So jumped into this race, did this race, qualified P10, not great, but luckily the Nations race, which will be uploaded tomorrow, went much better in qualifying, which was done after this. I decided to go back to a bit of a different strategy and managed to get a much better qualifying in. But starting from P10, just trying to really get the car into the top 10. There was a lot of very competitive cars at this track, like the Megane in front of me there, one of the faster cars around this track. Also, the Alfa Romeo, stupidly fast round there. The 4C was just so overpowered. It's insane how good that car is. Could run, obviously with its tyre wear, so much better as well. And obviously the Toyota 86, another extremely strong car. There was two of them in front of me. So, and I think IRT Nisman was just a little bit ahead in the other Porsche, but I really did mess my lap up, so couldn't really do much. And this video should have been out yesterday or day before, but the audio, I messed up the audio again. I forgot to mute the mic, so I've had to re-record the audio and add it in after. So there's a bit, that's why there was a delay in getting this video out, which I apologise for. Hopefully a lot of videos are going to start coming back to the channel now, more than one a day hopefully, because I've now got a lot of time to start editing videos and getting more content. So hopefully doing at least one video on GT Sport every day. Sometimes there'll be two, but also every week adding a couple of other videos from different games in every single day. Not like, it won't be 2 videos every day, but the odd day there'll be 2 videos, and sometimes maybe an iRacing, an Assessor Corsa, maybe even doing some dirt rally, because I've got that, I've just never really played it. So I'm going to try and add a bit of variety in whilst keeping an upload from GT Sport every day. As you can see, cars battling ahead of me, IRT's Nisman, just a little bit of contact with the Megane in front of me, getting really close there. Some of these drivers in front were actually on different tyres. I'm going to show you at the end of the race. I just didn't really think about it because I hadn't done any practice. I went in just and played it too safe. Obviously the racing medium's on, and just trying to make sure that I preserve the tyres. A lot of people were racing soft tyres. I don't know if it would have been possible with the Cayman. I think it would have been. Cayman's quite a good car with its tyres, but a lot of people at the front obviously using them softer tyres and benefiting massively from it. As we go into this corner now, and the NSX, he's on soft tyres. He threw it up the inside of the Citroen behind me and came into contact with me, and I'm going to show you at the end now. There was a bit of contact there between myself and IRT Nisman, which I have to apologise for. I didn't even know he was there because I'd been hit by the NSX. I was really annoyed, and I wasn't concentrating on my left, although I couldn't actually, he was in my blind side, I couldn't see him at all. A little bit of contact, and before anyone says it about the radar, I'm not going to use the radar because it's not what you're looking at. If you are approaching an apex, you're not really going to be looking at anything below there. Your eyes are concentrating 100% ahead. If you're not looking 100% ahead and looking for that apex, you're not really going to be driving as fast as you should. So that's why I don't use it. That's why pretty much most of the top drivers, as far as I've ever seen, do not use it, because it's of no benefit to them, because you just can't see anything in it, and by the time you do, it'd be too late anyway. I wasn't even looking in the mirrors, to be fair, because we'll have a little look at it later. If you look, the Citroen behind me didn't go for the move, and then the NSX just outbroke himself, and I think he tried to avoid me slightly, clipped the back, and obviously knocked me, but carried on. I think personally he could have lifted and maybe, or I don't know, possibly because he had the softer tyres on, he was going aggressive and he just wanted to get on with the race. So Not too worried though. Obviously pre-season, it's not, I mean say pre-season, but like off-season, exhibition season, it's not really that worried, so wasn't too worried, just getting back on with the race. Obviously still in P10, not actually lost any places technically, because IRT Nisman obviously got took out by, I think, the Megane that's up ahead of me now, battling with the NSX. So it's really interesting to see. I think they were on softer tyres. A lot of these drivers will have a little look at the start of the race to see who was on the softs and who was on the mediums. It was making, obviously, it depended how you wanted to do the race. Myself in this situation now, I was more likely to do the undercut and try and pit at the end of lap 3, which would have made sense then to go on the soft tyres, but because I hadn't done any practice races, I really had no idea, and it just shows in different speeds of different cars. You can see how some people are pulling away so easy. Obviously the softer tyre could last 2.5 laps, I think maybe 3 laps of reasonable pace, and I think the 4th lap it would start going off a bit, so it kind of would have made sense for myself to do the medium and the soft tyre at the start and then go on to the medium, but obviously I wasn't aware of it, and I just went for a very, very safe tactic. Obviously if the race would have been going better, I would have pitted at the end of lap 4 and then possibly considered going on the softer tyre, depending on obviously what I could see ahead of me by the way cars were pulling away, but I felt the undercut was needed to get myself back into some sort of race. You can see straight away from lap 1 I knew I'd have to go on the undercut, but you can see now getting a lot of pressure from the BMW behind me. The BMW also at this track is very, very strong. I think in time trial it was one of the fastest times in the EU leaderboards. It definitely seems competitive now. I think now that they've adjusted the fuel of these races so you don't need to really pit for fuel, the BMW really has come into itself again and should be a competitive car. It'd be interesting to see how competitive that car is now that they've changed the way they're doing these lobbies. I think it will also bring in some other cars now with the fact that we can use softer tyres. I think the problem with that is it's going to help the Megane and cars like that are kind of on their tyres at twisty tracks, because they're just going to walk away with the races now on them type of tracks, because the Alfa Romeo and the Megane, when anything twisty now with the softer tyres, their speed advantage is going to be increased because they'll have that much more grip, and it'll just be insane the way they'll be able to drive around the track. So interested to see how it plays out. Obviously at the speed track, so they're going to suffer massively. The BMW goes on the inside, tries to go around the inside. I try and hold it around the outside from the Cayman, managing to hold it around the outside. Gives me a little touch there, but I have to get back on the track there, but he's not really giving me the space. I don't know where he wanted me to go there, but I decided to go down the inside, brake late, and managed to keep it on the inside and hold that position. So managed to keep my place there in the race. He's going to try and go around the outside though, and again turning in on me, not really giving me the space that I need to really go through the corner, but still into P10 and didn't actually lose a position there. So a lot of pressure from the BMW. I think the slipstream was so strong at this track, especially for that BMW that seems quite fast in a straight line now. I don't know whether it was always that fast, but it definitely seems like it's got a lot of speed down the straights when it's in your slipstream. The Cayman isn't the fastest car in a straight line. It's not the slowest. It's not as slow as a Megane or the Alfa Romeo, but that BMW really fast in a straight line. I'd be interested to see just how fast that is. Maybe do a test at some point with one of the faster cars, but it definitely seems strong. As now, you can see starting to bring it back a bit, and they're not really pulling away too much now, the cars ahead. Possibly the tyre wear starting to kick in on the softer tyres, but you can see even then the advantage that they've got from using the softer tyre, the other cars. Look how far ahead. I mean, you can see I think the leaders are way gone. They're not even really in touch, because obviously they're in the Alfa Romeo around the super fast car with the softer tyres, which is just pretty much untouchable. But coming through to the end of the lap now, I decided I was going to pit on this lap. Obviously put the had to put the medium tyres on though now that I'm pitting on this lap, because the soft tyres would not last 4 laps. Not in the Cayman. It might have lasted, but you would have just been understeering like crazy on the final lap. It's going in the pits, medium tyres. I did have a little thing there, you could see, but decided to put medium tyres. Look at everyone on the soft tyres already, and then putting the soft tyres back on again for this 4 lap stint where their car can obviously cope with having the softs on. I really think I should have done more testing, because I think if it was possible to run softs all the way through with the Cayman, I probably would have been quite a bit faster, but I decided to go with the safe option. So down into P14, but I've got cars in front of me that are obviously haven't pitted yet. They're on the slower tyres now because they're worn badly, so I should be catching them up fairly fast, and I knew I'd be catching them up, and I was hoping they wouldn't get them away because the BMW stayed out. So if I can do quite a good lap on this lap now, I should be able to gain quite an advantage over that BMW from doing the undercut. It'd be interesting. The undercut tends to work really well if you can build up enough of a lead to not let them get in your slipstream. Then they find it really hard to get close enough anyway. It's just obviously I felt like he was gaining on me anyway because of the slipstream. I don't think it was because of outright speed. It'll be interesting to see now. As you can see, the cars ahead really struggling. The four-wheel drive cars struggling massively with grip and understeering everywhere, so I needed to get past these cars as fast as possible, and I really was just going to go for a move whenever I saw a gap. If I saw an opportunity on the inside, I was just going to go it. So going through this really fast left-hand corner and just look at the understeer from P13. I can see the gap on the inside. I've got so much more grip. He actually sees me going down that inside, moves over, lets me through. He was understeering that bad anyway, so now I've got to try and get past P12, do a late lunge into this corner. Is it worth a try? I can see that he's struggling with tyres. A little bit of a late lunge, but luckily I didn't hit him too hard. A little bit similar to what the NSX did to me, but the contact was nowhere near as much, and they were struggling so much with their tyres. The braking differences was massive. Very similar to Red Bull Ring when I came into contact with the Dodge Viper as well, because fresh tyres versus the old tyres now is such a big difference, and that's why you can see such a big performance difference between braking, and it's quite a strong amount. Obviously, again, I think he was in a four-wheel drive car, so again, really struggling with tyres. Is now starting to catch P11 and P10. They're going to pit on this lap. That will enable me to jump a few more positions and get myself into a better position in this race. So let's see now, going through the final corner. I was hoping they would pick, because I was hoping no one would try and do a no stopper, but it was pretty much impossible at this track with the tyres the way they was. And now coming out the pits, you can see, is the BMW going to be able to jump me? No, he's not. He's actually dropped a few places behind. I think he's now in P11, so I've managed to build the lead up. And I also jumped, if you see, the Megane in the pits. He had to actually put a little bit of fuel in, so maybe when the Megane's driving really aggressively now, it's not so strong when it's fuel. It's only when it's short shifting, and obviously it can't afford to short shift anymore, so that kind of makes the Megane a little less strong than it used to be. Obviously, it's still got the tyre advantage, and he's probably now, I think he was now on the softer tyres when I seen him go in the pits. He came out on the softer tyres, so he's going to have a grip advantage for these first few laps. A massive grip. You can see the grip advantage he's got going through the corners. Insane amount of grip in that Megane compared to the Cayman on the medium tyres. And this is actually quite interesting. I kind of like the way that they've done this, that it is possible to do the medium tyres, but I think for this race, I think if it was one lap more, possibly people still might have gone soft. So if it was maybe 9 laps, I was quite confused why they did 7 laps, to be fair, because I think the when we did the GT3, the Group 3 cars here, as you can see the Megane going down that left hand side. However, he's not got the power to make that move, so I'm going to go to the inside and try and obviously brake early so I can go on the inside. He actually comes into contact. That's kind of not really his fault, because I had to brake early to obviously take the tight line through that corner, and he obviously had way more grip, so not really his fault. But I was going to just go for a move anyway and just lunge it back up the inside. He pretty much seen that coming. I knew that it was going to happen, and I ran wide into the corner, but again, no contact, so not too bad. It was a bit aggressive by myself, and I admit that, but I was a little bit wound up with some of the moves that people were making. So I think the contact as well, going before that corner, I thought that it was worse than it was when he hit the rear of my car, but wasn't really anything he could do, because I had to brake early, and then that's obviously had the knock-on effect where he's then had to slam on, and he's hit my back of the car and managed to get past me. So he's back in front again, and I need to try and see if I can get past the Megane. Obviously, the further on in the race, the soft tyres on his car will start wearing out compared to the mediums on my car, so I might have a chance of getting back past him on lap 6 or 7 as this race progresses. Now you can actually see how weak the Megane is down the straights now, as I'm picking up the slipstream obviously in the Cayman, which isn't even the strongest car down the straights really, but that Megane is definitely very weak on the straights, with obviously the BOP changes they've made to it. I think now that they've reduced the tyre rate and the way they've done it, will help. The tyres might help the Megane in some areas, but the fuel should really get rid of its advantage, because when you rev the Megane to get the most speed out of it, it does lose a little bit of its fuel advantage. As you can see, you get a massive slipstream from that Megane. It's if it's not even moving. That really does show you how vulnerable you are in the Megane on the straights to get overtaken. So any other track, I think the next track is going to be a nightmare for the Megane drivers, and obviously the Alfa Romeo drivers with the long straights. And it's a power circuit, the Dragon Trail track, so not sure how the Cayman will do. Hopefully the grip that it has through the fast corners will help it out. Should be able to get a reasonable result with it. Let's just hope. I like the track, so maybe a top 10 would be nice, or something like I think top 7 or top 6 should be nice if I can get it with the Cayman. I don't expect to win that track because it's not got the power really down the straights, but we'll see how it goes. And I'll be hopefully doing a little bit more practice now that I've got a bit more time, so hopefully do a little bit maybe today and tomorrow, and obviously Wednesday as well, to make sure I'm a bit more prepared for the manufacturers races. I need to get some stronger results in the manufacturer series. There is some good rounds for myself that will be should be good rounds anyway. Nürburgring, obviously, you watched it when I was driving the Mercedes and won that track. I really like the track, so that will be hopefully a good round, especially in the Porsche, which is the strongest car there. And if the fuel isn't an issue, I should be able to drive that aggressively, with the tyres being probably fairly good for that track also. So that should be an interesting race, how that works out. As you can see now, the Megane putting me under a lot of pressure. Obviously, after I've got back past him, he's trying to widen the lines into corner to get better exits, to give himself better speed down the straights. But the Megane just doesn't have the ability in straight line to get past any car really. The place it can do it is on corners, where it's just able to carry insane amounts of speed through the corners. And one thing you're going to notice there is this is an FIA lobby, and look how I ran wide there, exactly the same as how I ran wide during the FIA official season in the Mercedes. Has a little bit of contact from Megane there, but nothing too bad, just a tiny bit. But I actually get my SR down for that, which is a bit strange. But that's where the issues are coming down with people losing ratings, because you still lose your SR even without a penalty now. So that's a bit strange. But as I was saying, with regards to the track limits on that corner where I picked up a penalty last time, and a lot of people were saying it was too strict, it seems to have been adjusted. They seem to have now allowed you to run out a little bit wide there, where it doesn't gain you time, as long as, by the looks of it, you keep it kind of on the curb as well. So maybe they are listening to some people's complaints, as I'm guessing a lot of people obviously complained about some of the limits on some of these tracks in the official season, and they seem to have let them go a little bit. They're still strict here, but they're nowhere near as I think the main issue is obviously you don't have to do the chicane, so that was the main place people was picking up penalties there. But the rest of the track seemed fairly fair. I didn't really feel like you would get a penalty anywhere that you really didn't, unless you cut quite badly. You could run wide out of this corner. You can see 4 wheels pretty much off the track, kind of 2 wheels just on the white line, and it allowed it. So it looks like they're going to try maybe allowing a little bit more flexibility with the penalties in terms of track limits, which is good. But I still would like them to resort to a different tactic of using the penalty system, or the way it's done. As you can see, the Megane now going down the inside. Look at the extra grip it's got through that corner. Insane amount of grip on that Megane. Even on old soft tyres, it's able to just go through that corner as if he's just on fresh tyres compared to the Cayman. I tried to go a different line around this corner to try and get a better exit now as we got up the hill, because I knew the Megane would struggle on uphill parts. So you can see again, picking up the slipstream with the extra speed, getting closer, but just not able to really get close enough to make any sort of move. So I stay to the right hand side to try and get a good clean exit from this corner now. You see again going a little bit too wide though, and a little bit too deep into the corner, not really hooking that corner up. But you can see again the BMW that was on fresher tyres is still behind me and not really putting me under any pressure. So it shows you what the slipstream does. If someone's in your slipstream, it really does help you out in terms of race pace. But now you can see going again wide on that corner and not picking up a penalty. If that would have been the FIA race I did the other week, that would have been a penalty again. So hopefully they're listening to people's complaints. They seem to be, because they've obviously altered the fuel, they've altered the tyre wear. I still wish they'd just go to a more realistic setting of longer races for the FIA races. You can see I just managed to sneak into P9 as he has to get rid of a penalty. So One thing I would like to say is I wish they'd increase the distance on these races and just make them realistic. Maybe times 2 fuel, but times 1 or 2 tyre wear. Make them feel a little bit more realistic. As this is a move that he did on me into the corner. You can see such far back. He actually does it. He goes to the overtake on the Citroen, and I think he outbrakes himself and just thinks I'm going to turn that into an overtake. So I don't think it was deliberate. I think he tried to stay to the inside, but it was quite aggressive. You can see he doesn't really have his car alongside. He just clips the rear tyre pretty much off my car because he just lunges it in there. And I then didn't see obviously IRT Nisman because I've been pushed wide and I didn't even see that he was on that left hand side. But apologies to IRT Nisman. I don't think it affected him too much. I think it was the Megane that actually took him out going into that corner, pretty similar to how the NSX did it with myself. But look at all the drivers now as we go through the grid. A few on medium tyres, but a lot of drivers starting the race on soft tyres. You can see the racing soft tyres going all the way down the grid. There is a couple of on the mediums, but the majority of drivers looks like they're on the racing soft tyres. There is, like I say, there's pretty much I'd say 2/3 were probably racing soft and 1/3 were medium tyres. So it obviously depended how some of the drivers were obviously going to do mediums then softs on the last thing. I had no idea, so I was just doing mediums. But the Alfa Romeo was just able to do 4 laps on the soft tyres, and it didn't even look like it was struggling at all because such is the grip of that car. And it really was overpowered at this track, which was kind of a bit, I didn't expect it to be as fast as it was, but because the straight line speed isn't amazing on the Alfa Romeo, but I think it's a bit stronger than the Megane. But then through the corners, it's carrying that much more speed through them corners. It doesn't need the speed because it's carrying so much speed that it can just, it comes out the corner 5-6 miles per hour faster. So by the next straight, at the end of it, it's not actually that much slower than the faster cars. And that is why it's so strong at this track. And obviously the tyres helped it out, being able to put the softer tyres on as well. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. We're going to be back with the FIA Nations tomorrow, hopefully. That was a much better race for myself. Things went a lot better. And I actually did a better job in qualifying. So that'll be a nice video. It was a really entertaining race as well. I'm looking forward to editing that one. I'm going to change the camera angles around on that one and use some of the TV replay cameras because I think it will look really good on that race. It was really exciting and I thoroughly enjoyed the Nations race. So looking forward to getting that out, and there's going to be, obviously, like I said at the start of the video, a lot more content coming to the channel, different games, obviously keeping the GT Sport content as much as possible daily, and then obviously adding some other content in as I've got more time to do it. And obviously streaming is going to start happening as well, hopefully within the next few weeks. Now that the FIA season has officially finished, the official season, I need to now just work out how to do it, test stuff out. So the first few streams are just going to be test streams. They could be cutting off, within a few minutes as I test stuff out. So apologies if people get a bit annoyed with that, but I need to work stuff out for the first few. I'll probably do some tests by just recording footage rather than going straight out on the stream. But let's just see how it goes. I've got to work it out, and then once I've got it all sorted, I will be streaming, and probably streaming more than 2 to 3 times a week. I'm going to try and do a video every day, and then some days 2 videos, and then on some of the other days I don't do 2 videos. I might stream. I'm obviously I might even do in the future some streams not on just sim racing, obviously because I do play other games as well. I think Tijani said the same thing. So, and one thing, the advantage that I think of doing that is obviously I will be streaming GT Sport and every other game as well and stuff. But if I do a stream on, say, the new Blackout game when it comes out, it enables me to talk to people a lot more on the stream than it does when you're racing, because when you're racing it's quite hard to look at the messages and concentrate. But on a game like Blackout, you can literally sit there and wait for the action to come for a few minutes and actually have conversations about stuff with sim racing and stuff. So let's see how that happens, and hope you enjoyed the video anyway. We'll be back with more videos tomorrow. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. Click the notification button also so you don't miss any future videos, and give this video a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and make sure you check tomorrow's race out. Really fun race to watch. So thanks again for watching, everyone.